right now, Simon.
That is such a nice camera.
I believe that Goggleboom is in charge of the weather.
Get your phone out of my face.
You take my photos for free, and I promise I will bring you so much business. You know what? I'll just turn them off Facebook.
We're here today talking with Dave Connolly. Dave is going to talk to us a little bit about his photography and especially his astrophotography. So Dave, let's kick off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just in terms of how you got into photography in general and then how you got into astrophotography.
Well, I suppose my interest in astrophotography grew out of my love of landscape photography. I'd always been into taking landscapes from the time I was a teenager. We were lucky enough to have a physics teacher in school who had a darkroom and some SLR, so he let us run on those and he taught us the basics of it. My astronomy background comes from when I was 7. Halley's Comet arrived around and my grandfather managed to couple together a rudimentary telescope with some lenses from a binocular set he had in the house, and it gave me a look at this comet, sort of a once in a generation comet that comes around, and my love of it grew out of there. So then I kind of knitted the two together, and I suppose it's become a hobby since.
Okay, so tell us, for anyone that doesn't know, what exactly is astrophotography? So what are we talking about here?
And how would it differ? Like, a lot of people think that astrophotography is night photography.
Yeah.
Can you maybe just give us a quick difference between the two of them?
Okay, so night photography, I suppose, is the same as normal photography, but done at night, obviously, and it's lower shutter speeds and using a tripod and all that good stuff. Astrophotography is more about taking pictures of the night sky and trying to take pictures of those tiny pinpricks of light that are millions of light years away from us, and mainly trying to take pictures of the Milky Way, which is the galaxy that we live in.
So something that we hear very commonly in kind of photography classes here at Dublin Photography School is, so a lot of beginners will be on Flickr, they'll be on Pinterest, they'll be on Instagram, and they'll be talking to us about things such as, you know, they see these pictures of star trails, they see these pictures of the Milky Way online, and they're wondering, how do I achieve it, and can I achieve it with my basic equipment? Do we need specialist equipment to do? So if I was starting off with, let's say, my D3400 or my Canon 700D or whatever the case may be, just my bog standard camera that I got for Christmas that someone's given me as a gift. I've never done photography before.
Generally with a kit lens.
With a kit lens, 18 to 55, just basically out of the box.
Yeah, so that's where I started. I had an 18 to 55 lens and a Canon 60D. But the most important thing you need to do any kind of astrophotography is a decent tripod. You need a good steady tripod to sit the camera on, because obviously if you move the camera at all at night, those tiny pinpricks of light are going to move. So yeah, you can start off quite easily with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Micro Four Thirds does work, but because the sensor is smaller, it's going to take longer and the exposures will be longer.
It's just not up to, it's not a sign for the job, basically.
Not really a sign for the job, and I don't want to get into the maths of this because there is a couple of sums that you need to do in your head when you're trying to take these photographs, but the sensor is just too small. Now I started off with a 60D, then I moved on to a 7D to reduce the noise levels in it, and then I went full frame and I got a 60, and that will take better pictures. A lot of these ones that you see on Flickr and you see on Instagram and the likes, they're heavily edited, but they're all usually taken with full frame. Some of them are taken on tracking mounts, which, you know, is a different level altogether that you really don't want to get into in terms of expense. But you can do rudimentary stuff with a kit lens and an APS-C sensor.
So that's kind of good news, because what most of the guys have is, you know, if they had the opportunity, they go out and they buy $2,000 lenses and all the rest of it. But for most people, it's just a hobby. And you know, as you said there, you started off with a basic kit and that evolved over time. And I think that's what most people kind of, we see it here in DPS the whole time, which is people start off very simply with a 7-week course, or they start off just, you know, taking a few snaps, and as they kind of get more and more into photography, it kind of evolves. They kind of invest a little bit more in their equipment. Yeah. And you reckon the same thing is true with Astro?
The same thing is true, and there's a sort of well-beaten path in this. Most people start off with a kit lens, and you know, usually an 18 to 55, and then they try and get a wider angle lens, so on an APS-C sensor something like a 10 to 20 or something along those lines. Then people realise that they need to get faster, so the faster the lens, the more light it's going to pull in. So you're looking at something like a Samyang f2.8, which, you know, it's not a massively expensive lens, but it'll do the job. And then once you move beyond that, you're into the higher end stuff, you know, the Canon Art or the Sigma Art series, or Canon's fast wide-angle lenses, but the best one on the market is the Nikon one. It's the 14 to 24, but you know, you're talking astronomical money for those. But you will see a difference. You'll see a progression in the lenses, but I suppose it's the same with any type of photography.
Well, I suppose that's true. Like professionals doing sport versus the guy, you know, photographing his son at the local GAA game.
Yeah.
It's a completely different ball game. So it's where you want to take it, really.
Yeah.
Well, we see it in the beginners, as you said. The beginners come in, most of them have, especially this time of the year, kit lens that came with their camera. I mean, obviously, as you start to upgrade, you go body only and you put on your own lens after that. But a lot of people will see, as you said, the photographs, these beautiful night skies, these city scenes, and they want to do it, and they start getting frustrated because their kit might hit a wall. So tell us, in terms of kit, if we were all to head out tonight, what would be in your bag? What's your favourite kit? What's going to do the job for you?
Well, I run a Canon 6D at the moment, which for me is in terms of dynamic range and ISO control, is probably top of the line. Nikon do a very good camera in the same area, but I suppose it's whatever kit you have. You don't want to go and buy a different camera for astrophotography. The lens is the most important thing, so I use the new Sigma Art 14mm f1.8. Now, it is an expensive lens, but it's as good as you're going to get on the market at the moment. It's very, very fast. I mean, f1.8 is a very fast lens for 14mm.
I think that, but I will say there's just 2 points I'd like to make there. One of them is, you know, price and value are two very different things.
Yeah.
And people will often say, well, you know, there's more expensive cameras than the 6D. But in terms of value for performance and value for money, it's probably the punching the most bang for its buck.
For what I want to do. So on native ISOs, it wouldn't be as good as the last 2 or 3 cameras Nikon or Canon or even Sony released. But for the ISO that I shoot in and where all my photographs are taken, it's the best one on the market. I'm shooting photographs around 1600 to 2000 ISO, so it really is the workhorse. It's built for what I do with it.
And just a quick question there in regards to native ISOs. Now, I would be very familiar with native ISOs from shooting video, but could you just have a quick description of what native ISOs are to the astrophotographer?
So for us, I mean, you're looking at somewhere which is a high ISO. The whole idea of astrophotography is to get as much light onto the sensor as possible and record much light as possible. So if you've got a fast lens and a wide-angle lens, a fast and wide-angle lens, you need the ISO performance to be up there with it. So the Canon 6D from 1600 to about 2000 ISO is clean. It doesn't require a huge amount of post-work in Lightroom or Photoshop once you've taken the photograph. Now, if you start to develop within astrophotography, you'll take 2 or 3 exposures and start to stack them on top of each other. But for out of the box, I want to point and shoot this system. It's as good as it gets.
And just the last point out, we always make here in DPS, a lot of people ask us about lenses and glasses and why should I pay €1,000 for a lens, you know? And the one thing I always say to them is this, which is your camera body is like your mind, your memory, and your lens is like your eye. And the better your eye is, the clearer your eye is, the better your mind and memory can remember the shot and the scene. Would you say that's a fair description of it?
It is a very one. I mean, if you know, I'm plug my own organisation. I run a star party down in Kerry, and every August in the Dark Sky Reserve down there. And if you look at the photographs on our website, you can see the ones that were taken 2-3 years ago while I was using cheaper lenses compared to the ones I take now. And the difference is night and day. It's what you want to do in terms of taking these photographs. Some of the stuff I took 3-4 years ago when I took it were amazing photographs to me. I've had them printed, I've given them away as gifts, you know, they've been used in advertisements for a portfolio. But the newer ones that I've bought, you can see the difference in quality. But if you're starting out, I mean, you know, the cheaper lenses will work. I suppose I have the more expensive lenses because this is my hobby, this is what I do. You know, I'm probably shooting 100 nights a year with that lens, so I'm getting my money's worth.
Oh, definitely. So, you know, it's not something that you're just kind of taking out of the bag once a year.
No, if you're going on a road trip down to Kerry for the weekend, you know, don't go out and spend $2.5 grand.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a good idea.
Not just to dabble in it, yeah.
No.
So you mentioned the Skellig Star Party,
Yeah.
Dave. So tell us a little bit more about that and where people can find out information. Have you got a website, social media pages?
We do. We're on all the social media if you just search for Skellig Star Party, but our website is skelligstarparty.com. Now, where this came from, we're in our 5th year now, so about 6 years ago There is a couple of Irish astronomy events, but none of them are based on actually looking at the night sky. They're all held in hotel rooms where they get guest speakers to come in, and they're great. But we wanted something that was a little bit more hands-on. We tried to find the darkest place in Ireland to do this, and at the time, Kerry had just been given its Dark Sky Award by the International Dark Sky Association. There's only 3 of them in the world. One's in the Atacama Desert, one's in Australia, and the other one is in Kerry. So, obviously, Bord Fáilte are quite proud of it. So, 5 years ago, what we did is we invited a couple of our friends from the astronomy community in the UK, Will Gator from The Sky at Night, Nick Howes from Aerolite Meteorites, and they came over and they started giving us talks, and then at night then we'd take all the telescopes out and we'd look up at the sky.
I presume those guys are big names in the astrophotography.
They are, yes. If you Google either of them. So the Sky at Night's been running for, must be nearly 60 years now.
So you won't have a hard time finding them.
Finding those guys on Google. Yeah.
Are you looking to do a photography course or workshop in the Dublin area? We here at Dublin Photography School run a range of photographic courses, workshops, location shoots and even photography holidays that will suit your digital photographic needs. Why not pop on over to our website at dublinphotographyschool.ie and see our full range of courses and workshops. Also, why not check out our Facebook group page, our Twitter account and our Instagram account.
It morphed into a 3-day event, so we have a barbecue down there, we go out and take some photographs. It's stunning down there. I mean, you can see Skellig Michael from the bay where we have this, but at night you walk down onto the beach and there's literally a strip of light from one horizon to the other above your head, and that's the galaxy looking on sideways. So if you can imagine, the galaxy that we live in is like a plate. If you look at it on sideways, that's what you're seeing. So you're seeing millions and millions of stars. Right. So get down onto the beach at 2 o'clock in the morning. We set the cameras to look out over the sea. We try and capture the night sky, and we even get the bonus of bioluminescence in the water, so we can take some quite fantastic photographs.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
It's also really nice to have that kind of social aspect to it. That it's not just because there's a lot of people who would like photography, would have a passion for it, but wouldn't be what you call your quintessential photo nerd, film geek. They just like to kind of go down, try my hand at it, and the fact that there's a social element to it really makes it accessible, I think.
We get 3 types of people down to the event. So we get the Astro nerds, who I would know each and every one intimately. Then we get a lot of people who are just like that. They want to come down for the weekend and take photographs and look through our telescopes and learn a bit. And it's a very open event, and that's the kind of thing we get into. And then we get a lot of people that have bucket list ideas of being able to see the stars and being able to see the Milky Way. And we get a lot of people coming in from the UK as well. So we're up to about 200-300 people at the event now. We book out
quite substantial.
Yeah, we book out a hostel for the weekend, and we get a lot of support from the locals.
When did you say this?
August.
Is it in August for a specific reason?
It is.
In terms of the night skies? Yeah.
So to take the best astrophotography pictures, you want the moon out of the way. So you need the new moon. And then it's to do with the way the Earth is tilted now. I'm not going to get very complicated into this, but there are times of the year when we are positioned well in Ireland to be able to see the Milky Way, and the best time of the year where you're not going to die of hypothermia is at the end of August. Now this year the Perseids meteor shower is the same weekend that the moon is new, so we should get to see a lot of those. And we had that 5 years ago in our first event, and we got amazing photographs of Perseid meteor shower coming in over our heads. So we're looking forward to a good event this year. Now, some people think we're mad having a star party in Ireland where the cloud cover is about 120% most of the year round, but we've been lucky. Every year we've had at least one night where we've had crystal clear skies down there, and it really is gin clear. I mean, the stars don't twinkle down there because the atmosphere is so calm, and there is no
dust or pollen in the air.
No, there's nothing. Next stop, New York. I mean, there's a sign down there on the wall that says next parish in New York.
What we'll do, Dave, is we'll put in the show notes any descriptions and links for people looking for more information. But I also think the fact that you don't have 2 days, or you know the way you can't guarantee it, it doesn't matter. I don't think it's the interaction, it's discussion, it's exchange of ideas. You're meeting other photographers, you're talking about this stuff. You're just even having the camera out, just kind of practicing and talking, exchanging, exposing yourself to new ideas in photography. So I think it's a great benefit for anyone.
And the fact that there's a wide range of people that come to it. You don't have to be somebody who's
and
an astro anorak. It's been at it for years.
We've been lucky that we've had some help from a lot of sponsors. So K-Tech Telescopes in Dublin sponsor us, and they always have, and they bring their big equipment down. But in the last 2 years,
Cheeky plug.
the last 2 years, Sigma have come on board, and what they do is they lend us some equipment for the weekend, so that if you come down with your APS-C sensor or your full frame, and you want to have a go at one of these really expensive lenses, we have them on site, and we can bring you out and show you how to use them and let you get that shot.
Perfect. And we are going to talk about Sigma in a moment, but I just want to repeat just once again for everyone the website that you want to head over to, Dave, is
SkelligStarParty.com.
Great.
And I'll add that into the show notes as well.
Yep, perfect. So, moving on then, you talked about Sigma and you
Yep.
talked about some of your equipment being Sigma, and we're hearing that recently you've become a Sigma brand ambassador.
Yeah,
so tell us a little bit about that.
Last September, after the last, or sorry, it wasn't earlier. Last June, after the Star Party had started to reach out to some of the UK events. So there's tourism events in the UK, and Portfolio started asking us to go to these and drum up some business for Irish tourism. Sigma approached me and asked me would I like to have a look at their new Astro lens. Now, at the time they didn't have one, so I was interested, and they gave me a pre-production model of the 14mm f1.8 lens. Now this was next level stuff for astrophotographers. So we could get 14mm lenses, but generally they were f2.8. They weren't as fast as this. So we were interested to see if they would hold up. So last August I went down to Kerry, I brought one down with me, and we took some shots of the night sky, and I was extremely impressed with it. So for me it was a phenomenal lens. Now they're going to follow this up with a couple more of them over the next few years, but the 14mm really is the top of the line lens for us.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah, so like I said, now they're kind enough that they give it to us they give us some of the stuff every year. So this year when we're doing our event again, I'll have those lenses down there, and people can come along and I'll put it on the front of your camera for you, and we'll teach you how to focus it in the dark and see if we can get you that shot of a lifetime.
Fantastic.
So, Kerry, we know you head down there every year. Is there anywhere else in Ireland if somebody wanted to head out and try?
Yeah, let's say I live in Dublin. Where do I go?
So I get, people send me pictures a lot of the time, and Dublin and the major urban areas, and it's always that orange hue in the photograph that they're trying to get rid of. And the best way to get rid of it is to simply move away from it. So the sodium lights that we use on the roads in Ireland are the main cause of what we call light pollution, and that's what that orange hue is in your photograph. Now if you're living in Dublin, the best thing to do is to get out of the city, go up into the Wicklow Mountains. So Rathwood works quite well, Glendalough works well. Any of those areas out into Wicklow where it becomes more rural. The Curragh in Kildare works quite well as well. There's some lovely places, Waterford and Wexford down that area, down to, along the shore, and then out in Meath there's a few dark spots as well. If you go online and look for the International Dark Sky Association, just Google them. They have dark sky maps that NASA do.
Oh, I've seen these, and they have that almost like a weather forecast.
That's it. Yeah, it'll tell you where the sky is darker, and where the light pollution is heaviest. About 80% of people in Europe will never see the Milky Way with their own eyes because of light pollution, which is a shame. But in Ireland we're lucky, so we've got a quite a dense population on the east coast, but the west coast is less populated. So the further west you head and the further south you head, the better the night sky is going to be.
So what about if you wanted to head off, combine two passions as we love to do here, travel and photography? Anything on the Dave Connolly bucket list?
Yeah, there's a couple. So there's a place called La Palma, which is the smallest of the Canary Islands, and you can fly to Tenerife and get a boat across to it and rent a car over there. And at the top of an extinct volcano is the European Southern Observatory, and you can see pristine night skies over there. You're also up so high that there's no dust and the clouds are below you, so you're guaranteed of the dark sky. I've seen it in magazines. I have friends that have been over there. It's definitely on the bucket list of someone.
I suppose it's also because it's Canaries, it's not exactly a nightmare to get to either from Ireland.
No, not a nightmare.
And it could also, if you were kind of cheeky enough about it, you could couple it with the family holiday if you needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I've been threatening to do it for a couple of years now. It's something I must do. And then I suppose the two that are at the top of every astrophotographer's dream is the Atacama Desert, which is difficult to get to, and then Australia, because the southern skies are so much richer than what we see in the northern hemisphere.
Is that for any particular reason, or is that kind of axis tilt or
it's
pollution?
Axis tilt, exactly. It's axis tilt and pollution, but you can see the core of the galaxy much better in the southern hemisphere, and you can see the two satellite galaxies that sit either side of the Milky Way. And it being Australia, it's not heavily populated, so you can drive out into the desert out there and it's stunning.
as we were just discussing earlier, location.
Yeah.
And just one last question, Dave. Just in terms of something that's always a highly contentious issue is Photoshop.
Yeah.
Amongst photographers now, personally, I have no problem with it, etc., etc. Especially as a polishing and finishing tool. There are certain things you just cannot get right in camera. No matter how diligent you are, there's just some things sometimes beyond your control or beyond the capabilities of the camera.
Yeah.
Is it a contentious issue within astrophotography?
It depends. There's a lot of Facebook pages where people post these pages. Astrophotography Picture of the Day is one of them, and there has been a lot of outcry in the last couple of years about people layering photographs and using Photoshop and using different programs to try and stretch the photograph out. I don't have a problem with it once people are telling you that's what it is. So if I see a nice picture of the Milky Way in Glendalough or something, I don't want it, and you're putting it up as that, you should mention, this is what I did. But I'm not a huge fan of it.
You think it's a little bit disingenuous to kind of, like, you've no problem putting up saying, well, I've layered in 3 or 4 photos here to make this, I composited this, but, that's no problem and it's still a wonderful picture. But if someone is kind of, let's say, I wouldn't say trying to mislead, but just, keeping storm on it and hoping it will pass.
Yeah, it's like that photograph was taken in, was it Hong Kong, of the apartments with the plane flying over the roof that won a couple of competitions last year.
Oh, I recall that.
Yeah, and they photoshopped in the plane.
Yeah.
Now, that's one step too far for me. If you're taking photographs of the night sky and you're photoshopping in the Milky Way, then that's wrong. But if you've used 3 or 4 exposures because to try and clean the noise out of an image, that I haven't got a problem with.
So what you're basically saying is, if you're using the raw material that's there, then that's not really a problem. But if you're kind of compositing and kind of making images out of nothing, or that's it, kind of completely alter the reality of what was.
Yeah, and the colours as well. I mean, some people stretch the pictures to crazy colours. Now, there is a natural green hue and a blue hue in the night sky once you expose for long enough, and that's to do with the oxygen in the atmosphere and the nitrogen in the atmosphere.
That's the same thing the aurora excites.
Pretty much, yeah, it's the same thing. I suppose astrophotographers, a lot of us would take pictures of the aurora when we can get them, but this part of the world, it's not. I have done it. I've done it from the Midlands, but it's a green strip on the horizon. It's nothing like you.
I can't see them selling the exotic Midlands in a tourist brochure.
I said Norway.
Not Portlaoise.
So Dave, just before we do finish off here today, if I am new to astrophotography, I want to learn a little bit more about it. Have you any ideas for websites, magazines, books, or somewhere where I could?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into astrophotography, or if you want to get into astronomy, you want to learn a bit about night sky. The book on looking at the night sky is called Turn Left at Orion. It's by a guy called Brother Guy, who is the astronomer in the Vatican, of all places. But he has written the best book on what to look at the night sky. It's really easy. Open the book.
Vatican have a long history, though.
Huge history
of astronomy.
Huge history.
He was in the news lately, am I right? I read something about him lately.
We had him down in Kerry in the Dark Sky Reserve.
That's it.
We had him down for a couple of days. Now, he's written the book on it. It's a fantastic book. If you want to get into the astrophotography side of it, I suppose we would all agree that the best guy on the planet at the moment is a guy called Ian Hunter, and he has a website called lonelyspec.com. Now, Ian does everything from pointing and shooting with small cameras to tracking mounts. He does a huge amount of work, and his work is pretty spectacular. I think he's a brand ambassador for Canon or somebody. He's got some serious equipment.
There's serious sponsorship behind
it. But he started off real slow, and he does videos where he says, I'm going to go and get a $200 camera and I'm going to take a picture of the night sky.
And there's something really nice about that, because it makes it accessible for so many people.
He's also been trying to do it with an iPhone, and I wish him luck. Let's see
the bridge too far.
We'll see. No one he probably will, but he's a great one to start with. And then if you're interested in astronomy in Ireland, if you go into Google and type in astronomy clubs in Ireland, there's several. There's the Sidewalk Astronomers Group in Dublin. There is the Meath Astronomy Club in Meath. There is the Midlands Astronomy Club, which is in Athlone. There is an astronomy club in Carlow, and then as you move, there's one in Galway. So there's plenty of astronomy clubs in the country, and they're all infected with us astrophotographers. So if you go along to any of their meetings,
so they're basically hand in hand.
Yeah, pretty much. There's
they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Okay. Thanks for coming in to us today, Dave. Thanks for the chat.
Are you looking to do a photography course or workshop in the Dublin area? We here at Dublin Photography School run a range of photographic courses, workshops, location shoots and even photography holidays that will suit your digital photographic needs. Why not pop on over to our website at dublinphotographyschool.ie and see our full range of courses and workshops. Also, why not check out our Facebook group page, our Twitter account and our Instagram account.